the entire class with a bad grade. The guys I thought were just troublemakers all got excellent marks. At first I thought it was some kind of misunderstanding. I had done everything just like I had had in my previous school. I'd read the textbook right before the class starts, but I failed all the tests after that as well. It was so strange that I started to suspect something was up. One day, after yet another failed test, I could not stand it any longer and burst into tears right in the school hallway. I covered my face with my hands and couldn't see anything, so when someone coughed nearby, I was startled. I opened my eyes and saw green hair, tattoos, bracelets with spikes. The guy standing in front of me looked so intimidating that I ran away without hearing him out. At home, I thought about what had happened for a long time and felt like I had guessed what was wrong. So, when my dad came home from work, I decided to complain to him. I told him that the teachers were failing me because I looked too untypical for that school, and all the other students had probably conspired to get good marks somehow. I thought my dad would take my side, but he just gave me a very strange look and silently went to the kitchen. I had to follow him for a half an hour and ask him questions to get an answer out of him, but I didn't like what he said at all. It turned out that all the years I had been in my previous school, my dad had been giving my teachers gifts. He had been doing that so often that the teachers felt awkward giving me bad marks, so I'd only ever got A's without making any real effort. My father looked very guilty, but I still got very angry with him. You can't imagine how hurt I felt. After all, it turned out that he'd never believed in me. Everything I'd ever done and achieved turned out to be just a lie. I spent the whole night crying and not knowing what to do with my life. When I woke up in the morning, I didn't want to do anything at all, so I came up with a revenge plan. I stopped talking to my parents and helping around the house. I felt so wronged that I wanted to at least make them see it. The situation at school didn't improve. I felt so lonely. The other students seemed strange and scary to me, so I shied away from them. Even from that guy with green hair, although he kept coming up to me and trying to talk day after day. A little later, I found out that his name is Brian, and he was one of the most popular guys in school. He was surrounded by a lot of people during the breaks, and he always made everyone laugh. In the evenings, as I found out, he was shooting and streaming TikToks. He was the one who finally gave me the idea of what to do. I wanted to share my troubles with someone to feel a little less lonely. That's why I decided I would also try to film and post a video. At first, it was scary. My first TikTok got practically no views, but bit by bit, I got the hang of it. However, I could not concentrate properly on my new hobby, as the situation at home was getting worse by the day because of my silent protest. Unsurprisingly, everything eventually escalated into a shouting match. My father said I wasn't helping them at all, and that he and my mother were getting tired. I said in response, "Well, I don't want to help you because you've never believed in me and probably never loved me either." I hadn't planned on saying those words and immediately regretted it. Dad abruptly stopped and turned sad, and I suddenly realized how tired he looked. I remember opening my mouth to apologize, but I didn't have the time. He sat down on the sofa and started telling me his story. He had been born into a very poor family and had to take care of his siblings since he was a kid. He had to drop out of school to take care of them, and then as he got older, he barely got enough time to sleep while studying and working. He practically didn't have any childhood. He never rested. He worked very hard his whole life with only one purpose in mind. He promised himself the life of his children would be different from his. "Finally," he said sadly, "it seems I failed." Then he got up and went to bed. I simply had no words. Dad had never talked about his past before. I had no idea how hard things had been for him. And now, all of a sudden, I felt like a terrible daughter. All that time, I had been only thinking about myself and how difficult my new life was. I never once thought about the fact that my parents actually had it even harder. Things couldn't go on like that. I had to change and help them at least a little. That evening, I cleaned the whole house. In the morning, I got up early and cooked breakfast for the whole family. I felt just as uneasy at school, but I got over myself and came up to Brian. He was very surprised but immediately smiled happily. It turned out that all that time, he had been trying to invite me to free extra classes given by a young and caring teacher. That teacher was putting in a lot of effort into it, and that's why the classmates I thought were troublemakers had nailed the tests. Of course I agreed to go, and my adventures that day did not end there. The kids at school weren't as scary as I had imagined. On the contrary, they had been afraid of me that whole time, thinking that I was a goody two-shoes looking down on them. Now that I knew that, it was easier to get along with them. Every morning I woke up thinking I needed to work on myself. After all, I hadn't been doing that in the 16 years of my life, so it was time to stop being completely useless. My marks gradually improved. I didn't get straight away A pluses, of course, but I was happy even with B's and C's because I knew for sure that I had earned them. The atmosphere at home calmed down and I started to feel much better. That's why I began to spend more time on TikTok. A couple of times I even collabed with Brian and my audience really liked him. And then something truly amazing happened. One day, Brian and I were sitting and discussing another video together when he suddenly asked, "How much have you already managed to earn?" I remember feeling very surprised at the time because I didn't even know I could earn money doing what I loved. Then Brian took my phone and added an email to my profile so that I could get paid for promotions. You won't believe it. After a while, I started to make really good money, enough to pay the bills for several months in one go. I suddenly got a lot of money in my account and I was incredibly happy because I found another way to help my parents. That's how my life changed. Some people might say I was out of luck, but to be honest, I feel much happier now than I did a year ago. After all, I know for sure, spending money is a nice thing, of course, but being there for your family and knowing the value of your work is much more pleasant.